Hello everyone and welcome to our guide for joining a raiding guild. We're going to call this So You Want to Join a Raiding Guild. This is my personal experience. I'm going to share personal experience and give you my tips and advice for joining a raiding guild. So if you're tired of being in pug groups, if you're tired of waiting on the group finder and you want a little bit more stability in your raiding, because that's what guilds do. They give you that bit more stability. You know, you get set raid nights. Some guilds have set teams. Some guilds, have very well organized. You've got TeamSpeak or Mumble or whatever, voice comms as well. A lot of guilds. It's quite a good place. A lot of guilds do progression. Some guilds do casual raiding. The first thing you've got to do is, before you join the guild, before you even apply to any guilds, before you even start looking for any guilds, is what kind of raiding do you want to do? Do you just want to do story mode, or do you want to go into hard mode and be a sort of progression raider? Do you want to go and do the hard mode raiding? The second most important thing, okay, before you even apply to these guilds, before you even look for any guilds, is what nights of the week are you available? What days, what times are you available? Because there's no point in applying for a guild that raids Thursday and Sunday if your days available are Wednesday and Friday, okay? So, and you've also got to decide how much time are you going to dedicate to raiding. Are you going to dedicate... Some guilds will raid 1 night a week. Some guilds will raid 5 nights a week. Some guilds will do 3 nights a week. You've got to decide the days you're available and the days you're prepared to dedicate to raiding. Because essentially, this is a raiding guide. You've got to decide these things before you apply, before you even look at any guilds. When it comes to the process of application, first of all, where do you find guilds? Well, you can find guilds in game. You will occasionally see, you see it quite a bit actually. You'll see guilds recruiting. Some recruit specifically for progression. You'll see they're like 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. That's how many bosses they've cleared. Basically, there's 10 bosses across the 2 raids. And 5 bosses in each raid, and that's how many bosses they've cleared. Now, if you're applying for a progression guild, if you're going from one progression guild to another, if you're just leaving your current guild and looking to go to another guild, I would always suggest finding a guild that is similar in sort of progress to you, because there's no point in going into a 10 out of 10 progression guild and you're only sitting at 4 out of 10, for example. They're very unlikely to accept you. They may accept you and may take you on trial, but you're going to have more chance of applying for a guild that's sort of maybe 5 or 6 out of 10, round about the same level of progression. Same goes if you're 10 out of 10, if you've killed Revan in hard mode. There's no point in applying to a guild unless you're maybe stepping back from sort of hardcore progression and then going for more casual progression. Then maybe I would suggest that. But again, if you're wanting that hardcore progression, there's a reason why some guilds are 4 out of 10 and some guilds are 10 out of 10. Some guilds raid every night and require people to be on every night. If you don't like that, then don't join that guild, basically. It's generally up to the guild. Most guilds have fixed teams, some guilds don't. You want to join a guild generally that has fixed teams, tends to be the best method of approach for this. Again, some guilds have 5 teams, some guilds have 2 teams, some guilds will have 1 team. It depends on the size of the guild. Size of the guild really isn't really too relevant, to be honest with you. The other thing that you're going to look for, again, we're talking about where do you find guilds? So in-game chat is not a bad method, but it's not the only method. The best place I find is to check the server forums. Go to swotor.com, go to the community, go to forums, and go to server forums, and search for guilds on your server. Now, if you find a guild on another server that you kind of like the look of, you could always have the option of transferring. So I would maybe take a look at some other servers in your region as well. Bear in mind, try and stick to the same region. If you're on the east coast of the United States, there's getting a west coast server and finding a guild there, maybe not the best idea. You want to stick to a guild that's sort of close to your time zone, again, and speaks the same language as you as well. If you're in Europe, again, we have a lot of guilds on the Reddit clips that are like Polish guilds, Russian guilds. I've seen, you see them advertising, Danish guilds. I've seen a lot of them. And, you know, you don't want to join a guild that speaks a different language to you, obviously. So again, or if you're, if you are, again, you're Russian and you want to join a Russian-speaking guild, again, more likely they'll be playing in the same time zone. So if you're from, well, Russia's a huge country with multiple time zones. Bad example, say you're Swedish or something like that, and you want to join a Swedish guild, then it's like, how many time zones does Sweden cross? Is it 1 or 2? I don't know, to be honest with you. In the UK, it's only 1 time zone, but generally we have people from sort of all over Europe in our guild anyway. So, find a guild which raids. Again, the time needs to suit you. The days, again, needs to suit you. Most guilds will post that. They will post that in the server forums. Another good place to go is engine.com. I'll put a link there. Again, sign up for that. And again, you can filter options as well. You can search for, it covers multiple games more than just SWTOR. So you search for SWTOR, search for the server you're on, search for the type of content that you want, and guilds that are recruiting will be searchable there. Most guilds that are recruiting, you can check out their website. Most guilds that are sort of even casual progression and, you know, the more hardcore progression guilds, they all will have websites, okay? Most of the hardcore and even some of the most of the casual ones these days have websites. Generally, you don't really want to join a guild that doesn't have a website now, because there's no in-game calendar or anything like that in SWTOR so you can sign up for raiding or anything like that. So most of the sign-ups and most of the things are done through Engine. Engine's just the most popular one. Again, some guilds use other hosting sites for their website, but Engine tends to be the most popular one, particularly for SWTOR. So again, you want to have a look on there as well. Have a look on your server forums, and, you know, have a look in game. You don't really generally want to be spamming chat looking for a progression guild. Generally not the best idea, to be perfectly honest with you. Probably the least effective method of doing so. So if you find a guild that you like, okay, say you find a guild, my advice to you is actually have a list of guilds that you want. Best advice is find maybe 3 or 4 and put them on a list. You know, say, I like the look of these 3 guilds. These are potentials. Again, these are potential. And what you're going to do is visit their website. I suggest always visit their website, check the progress as well. Again, make sure the progress is similar to yours. It's pretty nice, unless you're sort of being a hardcore raider and you want to kind of step down a little bit. Some people do that. Some people go from hardcore progression and they just want something a little bit more casual. Say they're working full time now, or they've got a kid or something like that. You know, their life changes and they don't want to commit to a hardcore progression guild. They want to step down a little bit. There's plenty of casual progression guilds out there. We only do sort of 3 nights a week, which is pretty casual, to be honest. Generally it's 0 right now. I'm doing 0 raiding this week, so generally it's going to be find the right guild to suit you, essentially, is the best, is what my advice is. You check out the website and try and get a feel for, you know, for the guild. Look at their shout box. Generally most guilds have a shout box. If it's like people criticizing each other, then stay away. Or if it's, you know, if it's light-hearted and humorous. Some guild websites don't let you access some of their forums, obviously, so you could maybe check out the forums. Most guilds will have rules. Check out the rules always before applying. If you don't agree with any of the rules, don't apply. Simple as that. So some guilds are very, very strict when it comes to rules. Some guilds are very relaxed when it comes to rules. Again, it depends on the guild leader and it depends on the officer. So another thing you do is, if you do like the look of the guild, before you apply, is to maybe whisper the guild leader or one of the officers. Find out who the officers are and maybe whisper them in game and say, hey, I'm interested in joining your guild. Can you tell me a little bit about your guild? And, you know, most officers, most guild leaders will be happy to sell you on their guild, because this is actually a very good time to apply for a guild. We're in the end of the current expansion. A lot of people tend to be either on a break or leaving at the end of the current expansion. The new expansion is coming, so you don't really need huge amounts of achievements or massive amounts of raid experience. Most guilds will ask you, again, it depends on the guild. If you're joining a casual guild, they'll probably be more willing to sort of take you and teach you the fights rather than a hardcore guild which is only interested in the number of boss kills they can get generally. So again, pick wisely. Always pick wisely when you're joining a guild. So again, whispering those officers, most of them will be accommodating to you. Obviously, check where they are in the world. If they're in the middle of a raid, they might not want to. Don't go pestering people, okay? Don't go and just pester people, you know. Just say, hey, I'm interested in joining your guild. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And they'll maybe strike up a conversation with you, and they'll, you know, and you can decide from this, that sort of little whisper, you know, send them a little whisper and say, hey, you know, I'm interested in joining your guild. I see you're recruiting on the website. You can talk to them about your progress. And when it comes to filling out your application, now people say, oh, I'm not applying for a job. You're applying to be part of a team, remember that. Remember, so it's not like a job application where you gotta link your CV and things like that. You know, but you are applying to be part of a team, and there will be a process. Some guilds have a process of evaluation. They evaluate applicants, and it's different for other guilds. Again, it depends, a guild to guild thing. Again, it tends to be most applications require you to read the rules and say you accept the rules. Most applications will ask you for things like your main character, your main character's name, the role that you're applying for. Bear in mind, that's pretty decent. Some guilds will require you, if you're applying as a DPS, they'll also ask you what position you're applying for. If you're applying for an officer, or if you're applying to be a raider, or you're applying to be a social. Now, if you're applying to be a social / kind of casual player, most guilds will accept you. Most guilds will accept you unless they've heard about you or you're on their kind of... Some guilds do have blacklists of players that they don't accept that have done some unspeakable things in the past. So again, you might want to look at another server or transferring faction. So something like that might be a good idea. If you've pissed off a lot of people in game. I've pissed off a few people in game, but not a huge amount, to be honest with you. Generally we do it on characters that we never do progression with, so it's like, yeah, I have no intention of doing progression, do a bit of trolling, nothing wrong with a bit of trolling, of course, but you don't want to do that in your guild application. So again, make sure you put the right role down, you put your class down. Always check the availability as well of classes. Some classes are in higher demand than others. You know, I remember at the beginning of the you know, Shadow of Revan, Merc Healers were in high demand, you know, because Merc Healers were overpowered. So again, check that. If the availability is low, you might want to consider not applying. I'd still apply. I mean, still apply and find out. They can only tell you no, really, but I'd apply and say, look, I'm an operative healer, even though they don't really, it's low. Some guilds close off applications to certain classes and certain roles, because Marauders found that you tend to take just one Marauder to a run, and most guilds tend to have their sacrificial marauder. We have 2 sacrificial marauders that we like to sacrifice as healers. You know, it's fun to let them die occasionally. You know, they die quite often, to be honest. And once they've blown their inspiration, it's like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. Bye, you're dead. Every guild needs a sacrificial marauder. He had 2. You know, there you go. So again, filling out your application, again, most will ask for previous raiding experience. Now, if you have previous raiding experience in other games and you don't have much experience in SWTOR, I would put your experience in other games. But do not lie. Don't say you killed Lich King world first, okay? Don't lie about things like that. Don't lie about things like that. Some guilds will require you to post screenshots of things, again, that you've done in other games, but if you're like a sort of heroic, normal mode World of Warcraft raider and you want to apply in Star Wars The Old Republic, most guilds will take you. Most guilds will generally take you. Same with other games. You know, if you've raided to a decent level in other games and don't have any experience in SWTOR, most guilds will accept you because you've got that experience, and I would put that down. Barry, this is your opportunity. Most of them, when they ask about you and about your character and about why you want to join the guild, this is the opportunity to sell yourself. It's kind of like a job interview, but bear in mind you are applying to go on a team, really, on a raiding team, and you want to be part of a set team. So they don't want somebody who's just going to go. Don't just go in and brag about everything. Okay, that's the other thing to do. Try and be sort of, you know, don't go in, don't trash the game, don't trash other guilds as well, don't be negative, be positive about yourself, talk about your positive experiences in the game. If you don't have any raiding experience, then say that, be honest, say, look, I want to get into it, I've done, you know, story mode Temple of Sacrifice, I've done story mode Ravagers, and I want to progress to the next level. You know, I've got the gear at the start of the expansion, not really relevant. To be honest with you, if you're applying for a guild if you're going to raid in the next expansion, it's not hugely relevant because, again, gear is irrelevant these days anyway, because, you know, we're a month away from Knights of the Fallen Empire, and the gear will be reset. It will be level 65, and, you know, resurrected gear will mean nothing, and Revenite gear will mean nothing, so generally don't really state your gear. You want to state your progress as well. I always put the classes I've cleared things with, you know, and be honest about your progress. Don't lie. Don't say you've killed Revan, because any guild that, you know, if you go and, you know, if they accept your application and you join, they'll inspect your achievements. A lot of guilds will inspect your gear, inspect your achievements. Don't be worried too much about that unless you've lied. So they will go and check out your achievements when they get you to join. Some guilds, again, when you join, will put you as a trial. Generally, it's a trial. You'll be generally for a few weeks as a trial, just to see how you work out. So they won't give you access to the guild bank and things like that. You maybe even get taken on some raids. You might get asked, "Hey, can you come to X raid tonight? Can you come to the raid tonight?" If you can't make it to the raid, then obviously you don't want to, you know, say no. You don't cancel something for that, you know. But generally, you want to try and attend the raid. If you get a trial, some guilds do trial raids where they take you to like hard mode and say, right, we're going to take you through, you know, Temple of Sacrifice, first 2 bosses, hard mode. See how you do. You know, they'll evaluate your DPS. It's much better than asking. I don't like guilds that ask for the targeting dummy, and I tend to ignore those guilds. Like, you must parse X on the targeting dummy, and it's like, yeah, not really. I'd rather you must parse X in the trial on Sword Squadron. You know, that's much better, because Sword Squadron, you're going to be moving, you're going to be switching target. Generally a better guild, and again, you're going to be trying to avoid damage, and they will be looking at things like DTPS. We take damage dealers. We take some damage dealers into, you know, hard mode operations, and as a healer, we're tearing our hair out. We're like, yeah, he did a lot of damage, but he was also the highest DTPS, because as a healer, we care about DTPS. Like, we do care about that on Star Parse. You are going to need these things as well. Star Parse, whatever voice communication software. Generally, it's TeamSpeak. Most of the time it's TeamSpeak. Some use Mumble, Ventrilo. I don't know if anyone Swotor uses that. I haven't seen anyone use Ventrilo. But it's generally TeamSpeak or Mumble is the go-to for these. So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to go on TeamSpeak. Generally, even if you don't have a microphone, you need to be on TeamSpeak. Some guilds will require you to speak on TeamSpeak as well. So if you're not comfortable with that, then gonna be an issue. Might be an issue. I always have problems with microphones on TeamSpeak as well. They're either too quiet or far too loud. Like the microphone I'm using right now, the Samsung Meteor, is way too... The Samsung Meteor, not Samsung. Samsung Meteor is far too loud in TeamSpeak, and then you've got the microphone on the headset, which is far too quiet. So it's like, oh, no one can hear you, or you're too loud. I don't know. I mean, I try changing the volume levels, and it just always comes out weird on TeamSpeak with these microphones. But again, it's just your preference, really. Again, so if you've been invited to join, don't show up. And again, and if you're asked to do something and you don't know how to do it, like if you're asked to do bombs on Sword Squadron, for example, and you don't know how to do it, say, I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it, and get someone to explain it. Don't say, oh yeah, I'll do it. You don't have a clue how to do it, and you wipe the raid. That's bad. That's a bad first impression. It's fine to say, I don't know, look, I've never done it before, I don't know, can you explain it to me? And most guilds will be accommodating to you. They will do that for you. They will genuinely explain it. What guilds don't like is people who say, no, I don't want to do it. If you just refuse to do it, you're probably not going to get an invite back to the raid. So generally, you should volunteer for things like kiting Raptors, things like that. But only if you know how to do it, generally. If you don't know how to do it, like, you can still volunteer and say, like, I'd like to do it, but, you know, I don't know how to do it, and teach you. And most guilds will be that, because you're willing to learn, you're willing to be adaptive, and you're not just there to whore DPS meters. We hate DPS whores, guild runs. We hear people who just want to, care about their damage position. In the meantime, standing in the fire. of course, and as healers are tearing our hair out at them, you know. And if you're applying as a tank again or a healer again, it's difficult to evaluate tanks and healers because we can't just use a dummy. You tend to have to be taken on a raid. Bear in mind that, you know, the other healer may just be sort of going easy and seeing how you do in a bad situation as well. We do that sometimes as well for trials, you know. Say, look, just go easy. Just make sure no one dies. If someone's going to die, step in. But just heal easy, and let them do a lot of the healing and see how they can cope with it. Obviously, don't let them do the healing on their own unless you're really into a challenge. There you go. Heal Bulow on your own. I had to do that in a pug as a merc. Thank God I was a merc. That's all I can say. Thank God I was a merc for that one. You know, I had to heal Bulow because the operative healer died. It wasn't a guild run either. It was just a pug run. Yeah, I had to do that. That was fun. I mean, I could do it. I mean, if I was submitting an application, I'd send that video in. For a guild. If I was being a merc healer in 4.0, I'd send that in and say, look, okay, there you go. You can't submit a video. If you have videos, submit a video of you doing stuff. I do that sometimes if I'm applying for a guild. So look, there's a video of some good stuff that I've done, and there you go. And there's a video for you. Again, the more sort of screenshots and videos that you submit, the better it is really for you. But again, these are not necessary unless it's required. So hopefully, you know, this guide has got you. And when you're in the guild, bear in mind that what guilds want is people who are reliable, okay? Being reliable, if you're, you know, if you can't raid 1 week, obviously, because you say you gotta work, or you gotta do something, you gotta babysit, or you're washing your hair, or something like that, you know, if you're gonna cancel, make sure you cancel at least with a few days notice, okay? Don't just set your status to not attending, you know, an hour before the raid. That kind of thing doesn't go down well. I'm not saying, yeah, everyone has to attend every raid, but it is good to be reliable and kind of attend the raids that you can attend and the raids that you can't attend. You know, make sure you give plenty of notice. You might also get put in as a backup raider, so be prepared at first when you first join a guild, because again, they don't know you very well, so they'll put you as backup. Like, you're coming, do you want to come? They'll invite you to an operation. They'll say, like, do you want to come be backup for this? And if someone doesn't show up, then you can join. Don't be offended by that. It just means that, you know, they've filled their slots and they want, you know, someone else as backup. Because sometimes you do that with newer people in the guild, is they have to go back up for a while, and then maybe a spot will open up, or maybe a new team will be created, and then you get put into that team. So don't lose heart at that. You know, generally, most guilds will generally rotate members anyway, so you won't always be sitting on the bench. If they're a good guild, you tend to rotate people in and out. Most of the time, we didn't get rotated out because there was only ever 2 of us as healers in the end. It's like, oh god, we gotta be healers now. Occasionally we had a healer and a DPS that was, but she was a much better DPS than we were as DPS, so she always ended up playing DPS, and we always ended up as healers in the end. So that was one of the things, like, she wanted to be a healer, but it's like, we suck at DPS, and we're so short on people. It's like, you gotta be DPS, gotta be a sentinel, gotta sacrifice, make us healers look good or bad, depending on your perspective. So there you go. That is my advice for joining a guild. And have fun in a guild. Guild's all about fun. If it's a chore, if you find it's a chore, then personal thing is to just take a break or leave the guild. Obviously, you can take a break. Most guilds will won't kick you as long as you kind of inform them, look, I'm taking a break for 3 or 4 days. It happens. You know, people leave, people come and go. So there's always going to be recruitment at the end of the expansion and at the beginning of the next expansion. But my suggestion is to apply now. Apply towards the end and say, look, I want to raid next expansion. I might come on a few raids this expansion. That's what I did. That's what I did last expansion. I said, look, I might come on a few raids this expansion, but I'm really applying for the next expansion. I did. I mean, we did a couple of Dread Fortress, Dread Palace runs just before the expansion finished, and I joined about a month before Shadow of Revan joined, because it is a good time right now, because again, people are leaving, people aren't sure with the new raid tiers just being the same, so a lot of people leaving. That provides us with opportunities, okay? It provides a lot of people with opportunities. See it as an opportunity for you to get in on the ground. And again, the beginning of the expansion, end of a current expansion is always the best time, or the beginning of a raid tier. They're the best times to apply, because people rotate out, they leave. So yeah, if you are reliable, if you're, you know, turn up, you tend to get picked over people who do more DPS but are away. You know, they disappear for like 2 weeks on end. It's like, where were you? Don't even reply to things when they're asked for invites. That's another thing I don't like. People who don't reply to invites as well. You see invited next to their status. If I was a raid leader, I'd get annoyed at that. I'd want everyone to at least cancel, so you know they're not going to show up. If you don't know, you can put maybe, but you know, I mean, maybe at least you've replied to it, so you might be available. Maybe you'll be late. Maybe you're running late that night. So again, you tend to get a reserve. So maybe it's like a reserve thing. It's okay to be a reserve for the first couple of runs, and again, you get rotated in. Smart guilds generally will rotate everybody, because what you don't want is people sitting on the bench for a long period of time. If people are getting left as backup for a long period of time, they're more likely to leave. Okay, they're just going to leave because they're just going to go, screw this, I'm not sitting on the bench. I want to get in. You know, you want to get in, you want to do the raid. You don't want to sit there and everybody else is raiding and you're the one that's left out. So smarter raid leaders, guild leaders will rotate people out. They'll say, look, you can sign up for 2 raids per week. If you sign up for 3 raids, you'll be guaranteed at least one of them. You'll be guaranteed at least to show up on one of them. The biggest problem with this comes with lockouts, obviously, and people do get annoyed that are in the core team, obviously, but it's a tough balancing act for raid leaders and guild leaders, but hopefully they tend to have that. Anyway, we've gone on for a long time, 26 minutes. Anyway, we've talked a lot about our raiding guild, so hopefully my advice goes down well. So thank you for joining me for this video, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.